myself a list here and I'm going to go over it with you because a lot of my friends have been talking amongst themselves, and I've been hearing it, and then talking to me about what their surprises were when they first came to the UK, especially folks from North America. So I've compiled my unofficial list, and I've also kind of put in there too things that I noticed along the way, and so it's really not an official list, I guess, but it's like the list that I thought was the most interesting. Anyways, hey, all right, so let's do this. All right, number one on the list is size, and what I mean, like basically everything. The thing that people are first surprised at is, I think, size of houses or flats or apartments or whatever it is that you want to call them. Rooms are smaller, front yards, they're like Barbie size. It's just what you get for you, not just for your value of the cost of real estate, but just how it's built in general, regardless, because the space just isn't here the same, right? Like, I don't know, how many times can you fit the UK into like the state of Texas? I don't know, probably a few times. How many times can you fit the UK into the province of Ontario? If anyone knows, tell me, because I have not worked that math out, but like a lot. So size really is different. Personal space gets affected because of that. But then even things like the roads, especially if you're in a village, the size of our high street was like the size of my driveway, maybe smaller. Like the roads are small, but that means that the driving is totally different. And I gotta say that UK drivers, especially the bus drivers, those double-decker bus drivers, oh my gosh, they're good. They are good. Everybody can parallel park too and do it in really tight spaces. That's not even on my list, but it's a fact. Tell me, can you parallel park? And where are you from? And can you parallel park well? Like in like really tight little spaces. Anything. So cars are small, of course, right? A friend of mine came here and got a car when they first got here. I'm not going to drop names, but if you're listening, you know who you are. And they kind of got a North American size SUV. And then they were like going, oh, what have I done? Oh, they ended up in a bit of a pickle a few times. And then, okay, even ice cream. A single ice cream here, like a single scoop, is truly one scoop. It's like this. First time I had an ice cream cone, I was kind of like, because I'm used to like the over the top, exorbitantly like decadent ice cream cones, even when it's just a single. Like when I got a single ice cream cone here, I thought they gave me the kiddie size. And it's probably better, right? Portions should be smaller, but I have to admit, when I get my ice cream cones, I do like them kind of like North American size. I don't know, will that change? Okay, moving down the list, council tax and how that works. Like even if you are renting a place, you pay the property, because council tax is kind of like property tax, okay? You pay it, not the property owner. Council tax, and it can be quite a bit depending on where you're living. However, of course, with that you get a lot of the benefits of living here too, but we won't get too political here, but you know, like there's that stuff. But then you go into a store and there's no tax. What I mean is the VAT, that's VAT, is already worked into the price. So depending on where you're from, I mean, some of the math that you have to work out, depending on which area you're from in North America, is like, okay, I'm going to buy this, but there's like 13% added on it. And you're doing all this math in your head, and you just basically always have like a surprise amount at the end, because you never work it out right, do you? Now, here the VAT is already in. Now, if you've looked into how VAT works, unless you're really good at trigonometry, it will make your head spin, because it goes through many layers of where the VAT is added on and how the percentages work till it gets to the actual retail store. But don't worry, unless you're the retail store, you don't have to worry about that, because it's like, it's already in. The price is the price. The price is the price. It was a very pleasant surprise, I've got to say. Let's see. Okay, number 3, dog culture. Well, we all know the Brits love their puppy dogs, right? If you don't know that, wherever you're from, I don't know, now you know. But the dog culture is quite amazing, and it really jumped out at me. That was one of the early things that jumped out at me, and it's so cool because A, they're everywhere. Like everywhere. Everyone has a puppy dog, and everyone takes them everywhere. So you go into the pub, you take your dog. And one of the first pubs I ever went to had like couches, and the owners of the pub had I think they had 2 greyhounds. 2, maybe 3. Anyways, they had these greyhounds, and the greyhounds were just like lounging on the couch. And then the people bring in their dogs, and the dogs would just hang out under the tables with you, and sometimes your dog would kind of wander off to hang out with the other dog under the other table, and it always went well. This is cool too. The dogs are really well behaved. Better than the children. But that's another conversation. But they're so socialized that they just behave well. They don't jump on you. They're not jumping and slobbering and doing they're not getting in fights under the table. Like, no, like they're just hanging out hoping that you're going to drop a chip, you know? And they're at the cafes, they're down at the beach, they're just absolutely everywhere. And it's so nice. It's so nice because the dogs are really cool. But here's one thing that kind of still makes me kind of have pause, because people are really engaged in dog welfare here. They love their dogs. So they take care of them really well. But when it gets to be winter, like maybe, it drops down to 5 degrees Celsius, they put coats on their dogs. Now, if you got a Chihuahua, I get it, but sometimes there's these really furry dogs. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this now, aren't I? Ooh, be nice. But like, dressing your dog in a coat when it's not cold, they're not cold. They're probably overheating, the poor things. But for whatever reason, when people feel a little chill in the air here, and the Brits like to whinge about weather a little bit. I don't know. Explain it to me. What's with the coats on the dogs? Maybe I shouldn't make a judgment call. No judgment. I just want to understand, and I noticed it. I was like, whoa, that's going on a lot. It seems to be a cultural thing going on. Anyways, yeah, I need to know about that. Okay, let's move on, because people get emotional about their puppy dogs, but I love it. I love the puppy dogs. 4, everything is close. Now this kind of ties into the size of things, but what I mean is, when I first got here, I was going to go over to a friend's house, and I had never walked from my place to their house before, and so I was like, oh gosh, how much time should I allot for? Like 40-45 minutes? And when I got there, people laughed at me. They laughed at me. It took me 12 minutes. I'm just used to things being far and taking, even if it's around the corner, it means 40 to 45 minute walk. No, it was 12 minutes. So everything is close. Unless in some cases when you're driving places, like if you're heading kind of to some more rural areas that's not really that far away, it takes a long time to drive there, because there's like no big old roads going there, and you're going through the twisty turning roads. And in that case, it takes a surprisingly long time. But within your community, everything's closer than you realize. Once you get the hang of your community, you go, oh my God, it's just like right over there. Everything's 5 minutes away. It's amazing. It's amazing. Nothing is crazy time consuming. What else did I write down here? Windows. Okay. This sounds silly, but it gets a lot of conversation. If you jump into any groups of Americans or Canadians that are living in the UK and look at the thread about windows and screens on the windows, like, it's a longer, more heated thread than anything about politics, anything about dogs. They get going on it. And I gotta say, I go on about it a lot too. I understand that like the design of the windows is different, right? Because especially if you're in an older place and they haven't been designed to have screens, but there's no screens. And why is that a big deal? Well, for some people, they don't want like bugs coming in, but there really aren't that many bugs. What the heck is this? There aren't that many bugs around where I am. I know like up north, they have these little things. They're not mosquitoes. What are they called? They're like tiny, tiny mosquitoes. And I know they're up in Scotland and I think the Lake District. But I digress. So it's not so much of a big deal for bugs here. But if you have a pet, such as a crazy cat, Frank, how do you keep them in? And it's hot. By the way, like it's hot. I got a fan blowing on me. It's hot. And that's a whole other conversation about when it gets hot here. what happens inside the buildings. They basically turn into easy bake ovens. But anyways, how do you keep your cat